Jason is from South Africa, and he is also another SANS instructor and a SANS author. He writes the Forensics 308 class that's just brand new. Talks about the basics of doing computer forensics. Also teaches a couple of other classes in SANS. Has his own company where he does digital forensics every day. And also has a son that is sitting watching this this whole thing also, because he has an interest in cybersecurity too. So pretty awesome. All right. So Jason, the time is yours.
Thanks, Lee. So as Lee said, my son Neo is sitting right next to me, working through the summer camp as well with you guys. And I think it's absolutely awesome for us as parents to be able to share what we love with our kids, and also be able to share what we love with you guys as well. I think that's just so super awesome. So I know just about everybody has mentioned how they got into cyber and things along those lines, and I suppose I'm probably what you would consider an OG nerd. I grew up with computers when computers were just starting to be a thing, and there was, I lost myself in the world of computers, and it was just amazing. As Lee sort of said, I grew up in South Africa, and computers were my gateway to the world. I could talk to people all over the world. I got an appreciation for different cultures and different people, and it was just absolutely amazing. And I always knew I wanted to do something with computers, but I didn't have the privilege of being able to go to university or to college, as you guys would say, straight away. And I ended up joining the police because, well, aside from my love from computers, I also kind of loved the whole detective thing, and I grew up on American police shows and things like that. So I'd always had this dream of becoming a detective of some sort. So I did. I ended up becoming a detective in the South African Police Service, mostly working white-collar crime cases. And because I was the kind of resident nerdy guy, whenever a case came in that something had to do with computers, whether it was something stupid like a document had been printed off a computer, or somebody had created something on a computer, I was the person who ended up, being given the case. And that was really at the beginning of the development of digital forensics sort of worldwide. And there were these like pockets of expertise all over the world. There were a few of us in South Africa. There were people in the US. There were people in the UK, Germany, Australia, New Zealand, like all over the world. And we were all developing this discipline, and we didn't really know what it was at that time, other than we liked to catch bad guys, and we knew that there was going to be evidence on computers. So I kind of got in like really at the ground floor with computers, and I literally fell in love with, fell in love with the digital forensics, and it just allowed me to sort of follow my passions, my love for technology, my love for solving problems and doing investigations and my own sense of justice. And because I do have a bit of a little confession, just a teeny tiny little confession to say, is that, and it's probably like a little idiosyncrasy, I really do absolutely love to catch bad guys and of course bad girls, because there's equal opportunity criminals out there. And some of the techniques that I'm going to talk about in this presentation, really will deal with those issues. So, I think, if I look around the world these days, like everybody's a photographer. When I was growing up as a kid, most of your guys' ages, digital cameras weren't a thing. Mobile phones definitely weren't a thing. And like what Heather was talking about smartphones, that was like magical, like Star Trek kind of stuff for us. And, if you wanted to take a photograph, you need to have a good old-fashioned analog camera, and you took the roll of film to a developing studio, and they print your photos for you. But nowadays, like literally everybody's a photographer. I mean, I must take thousands of pictures, in a month. We record our lives effectively. I mean, we just record so much on our mobile devices. So literally everybody's become a photographer at some level. And I'm willing to bet that all of you here attending have done exactly that. You take photos of your friends and family, you take photos of yourself, you take photos of your pets. So we just do it. It's become kind of strange thing. So one of the key things when we talk about digital photos, and Heather and Ladrina had basically spoken to a lot of these issues as well, was we that are doing digital forensics, we basically look at these things that are created on computers or smartphones or, Alexa or, any electronic device effectively. And we look for evidence to help solve our cases, whether it be, somebody's gone missing and we're trying to find them, or, somebody's done something really bad, they've hurt people, things along those lines, or, we're tracking down hackers. We need to look at this evidence. We need to look at this data. And there's a lot that this data can tell us. Now, one of the reasons why, I decided I wanted to talk about digital photographs specifically is, again, also being a parent, realizing how much data is actually in photographs that most of us don't even realize is there, especially when we start looking at digital photographs and photographs taken with smartphones. So I want to first talk about this concept of metadata, and we're going to talk about this a lot in this particular section. So I want you to think about, we talk about metadata and the sort of technical definition that we talk about as data about data. But I want you to think about it from a different perspective. So if you look at me, so you're seeing, you're seeing me on video, and you're seeing me with, you can't really judge my height from where I'm sitting, but you can get a sense of the color of my hair, the color of my eyes, the kind of shirt that I'm wearing, all of those kind of things. That is me. That is the person. That is the human being that I am. All of the cells that make up my body. That's me. Now I want you to think of that as data. I want you to think of that as being the file. So what you're seeing, the person you're seeing in front of the camera at the moment, is a file. Now, if you look at that file, you don't know what my name is. You don't know what my age is. You don't know where I live. You don't know any information about me other than what you see. So looking at me doesn't give you any information about me other than what you see with your own eyes, or obviously what you're hearing with your ears as I talk. So how do you know about me? If you want to know what my name is, now obviously Lee kind of gave it away because he introduced me, so you all know what my name is. But Lee could just as easily have introduced me as Bob. I don't know if I really look like a Bob so much. Maybe I do. I don't know. Maybe Joe or Sam or something. But anyway, I get introduced, and you now know my name. You know a piece of information about me, and that name describes me. If you wanted to know more about me, you could maybe go and look at my birth certificate. My birth certificate would tell you my name. It would tell you my date of birth. It would tell you the name of my mother and my father. You could go look at other documentation, and that would tell you, for example, where I lived and things along those lines. Now, that information is not part of me. That's not part of the cells in my body, but it all describes aspects of me. In the world of digital forensics, this is what we refer to as metadata. So if I am the file, the data, all of the information about me from my birth certificate, from my passport, that would be metadata. In fact, it describes parts of me. So my son Neo and I were talking this morning about how I was preparing for this presentation, and I was talking about how I was going to talk about metadata, and he said to me, "Well, Dad, metadata is kind of like an adjective, describing words. So there's a dress, and it's a red dress. Red is the adjective that talks or describes the dress. So metadata, in a way, is an adjective that describes the data. And all files on a computer have metadata. And that metadata describes the name of the file, how big the file is, where the file is located, and so forth. Now, digital photos specifically have their own type of metadata as well. So we have this concept of metadata called EXIF metadata. Now, this is metadata contained in the photograph. It's not the actual photograph, so it's not the picture, but it's data embedded inside that file, that photograph file, that describes certain aspects about the file. So, for example, it will describe when the picture was taken. It'll describe the type of camera that was used and all those type of things. So it'll give you a very good sense of what it is that you are potentially going to find in that photograph. Now, I want you to think about it. With most of us using our smart devices to take photos, how often is it that there might be something in that EXIF metadata that actually says something about where we've been or where we were or what direction we were pointing or things along those lines? Now, what you'll see, especially when it comes to smart devices, is that most of these pictures will actually have what we call geocoordinates or geotags embedded inside this EXIF data in the photo that will let you tell you where in the world you actually were, even potentially how high you were, what height you were when the photo was taken, and even in what direction you were facing when the photo was taken. So we can often use this information in an investigation to be able to identify where somebody was. Now, as Lee said, I come from South Africa, and South Africa is blessed with an abundance of wildlife. We have amazing wildlife in our game reserves and things, and lots of people from all over the world come to see the animals that we have. And we have a big problem in this country of rhino poaching. So, there's a lot of criminals out there that will go hunt down rhinoceroses, and they will shoot them and kill them to harvest their horns. And again, with rhinos being an endangered species, this is quite a big problem. So there's a case that I worked on where this EXIF metadata actually helped us catch the bad guys. So to tell the story in a sort of short manner, a man had been stopped in a car driving along the highway, and when he was stopped by police, he had a number of rhinoceros horns that were packed in plastic for shipping purposes, and he was arrested for possession of these rhino horns. When he was arrested, the police took possession of his mobile phone. And obviously this mobile phone ended up with us to do analysis on the actual contents of the phone. They wanted us to determine, like who was he working with and things along those lines. And what we did find is in the phone itself, in the pictures that had been taken on this phone, there was one group of pictures that showed him standing next to a rhino that looked as if it had just recently been shot. So he was standing there, in a typical sort of selfie pose, taking a picture of him with this rhino. And obviously now the question then became asked as well, is it possible that the rhino horns that he was found in the possession of actually came from this rhinoceros that had been killed? And what we did is we looked at the EXIF metadata in the photo and identified the geographic coordinates where these photos were taken. And then working with game rangers, we actually managed to go into the game reserve where these geographic coordinates led us to. And we actually found the carcass of the rhinoceros. Obviously, it had been there for a couple of days already, so wild animals had picked most of it clean. But we actually found the carcass, so we could prove that a rhinoceros had in fact been killed. The photo placed him obviously in the photo where we found the rhinoceros carcass. And then what the forensic scientists did from the forensic science laboratory is we managed to extract DNA from the rhinoceros carcass, from the rhinoceros that had been killed, and we matched that to the actual DNA from the rhino horn, proving that the rhino horns that he'd been in possession of were actually the same rhinoceros horns from the animal. And that was basically how we caught the guy and how we proved that he had killed this rhinoceros. So it's for me it's quite awesome to do this. So we're going to switch over to a practical thing now. Now I know as Heather said, sometimes when you do a live demo things go hopelessly wrong, but we will hope that it won't fail. So this all ties in with the virtual machine that you've got. There's some exercise that you can do later, but I'm going to do this practical, and I've got a photo that I have taken, and we want to see well exactly where in the world was Jason. So I'm going to hopefully now not break this and switch over to my virtual machine. Okay, wait. I just need to share the right screen. Just share the right one quickly. Okay, cool. So I'm basically going to log into my virtual machine, and again, you're going to use this on a couple of your exercises and things like that. And we're going to now go and see if we can't find where in the world is Jason. Now, in the folder here, you have a folder called XF Data Labs. Oops. And in it, there's 3 pictures. A picture of my son, a very old picture of a drawing from my son, a picture of me and a good friend of mine, and a picture of me with some dolphins. So we're going to find kind of where in the world these pictures were taken. We're only going to do one of them in the class because we have limited time. The rest will be for your exercise at home. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a terminal, and I'm going to just quickly just increase the size here so it doesn't look like that you want to squint hopelessly at my screen. Yeah, okay. Let's see. That's usually where the demo failed. Ding, 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 ding. Ah, come on. Ah, come on. Let's try just my VM quickly for a second. Okay, it's not playing nicely. Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. So now we're ready to go. We're ready to get stuck into this. So first things first is I'm going to go to the directory where these pictures are. So I'm going to go CD desktop, because I know it's on my desktop, and I'm going to go to the XF folder. And now if I go there, I can do LS for list, and it's going to give me all of the pictures that are in the directory. So the picture that we're going to start off firstly is this Orlando picture. So if I want to see the XF metadata inside this picture, there's a tool that we put on the virtual machine, and thanks Lee for installing it for us, called XF Tool. And basically what XF Tool does is it allows you to look at all of the metadata associated with the file and display it to us. So I simply go XF Tool, and I'm going to select the Orlando file. Now, obviously, the clue in this picture is that I was obviously in Orlando at the time that I took this picture. But the clue, I mean, the challenge is where I was in Orlando when this picture, and there's a trick to it because, and I'll show you that in a moment. So what I've done is I've extracted the XF data from the picture, and obviously I can see the name of the picture there. I can see the size of the picture. I can see some interesting aspects about the picture. Now, this metadata is what we call the file system metadata. This is how it was saved on the computer. It's not necessarily the picture data. And I can come here and I can see, okay, now I'm giving how old this picture is, because if you look at the phone that I actually used to take this picture with, it's a BlackBerry. Nobody uses Blackberries anymore, although I do miss the full keyboard. And it'll give me a whole bunch of extra information about the photo. So when the photo was modified, it'll tell me the date and time that I actually took the original photo. So in this instance, it was the 7th of May at 19:39:12. Now this is local time. So this was the time as I was in Orlando, so this would have been Eastern Standard Time. And it'll give me some extra additional information, such as, you know, my longitude and latitude, where I was above sea level, and things along those lines. But what I'm really looking for here is I'm looking for my latitude and my longitude, and I'm going to also have my GPS position. Now, what you can do is you can take this information, you can put it into Google Maps and look at it, but you can't put it into Google Maps exactly the way it looks here, because this data format that I've got highlighted on screen now is not the right data format for Google Maps. So if I want to do it correctly, what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to run the same tool again, but this time I'm going to use what we call switches and options. So I'm going to now use the -C switch, and then I'm going to use this string, which is basically going to give us, convert the data, the GPS coordinates, into a format that Google Maps can actually read. So I'm going to run that again, and you'll see now I have this GPS coordinate that comes up and says, well, okay, this is where this picture was taken. So I can simply copy that, and I'm now going to go to a web browser. Boom, boom, boom. And in my web browser, I'm going to go to the absolutely best digital forensics resource in the universe. Okay. Maybe not. That's weird. Okay. I am going to jump away from this back to my I'm just going to jump to my browser. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm going to share that screen with you. There we go. So like I said, I'm going to go to the best forensic resource on the planet, Google, and I'm then going to go to Google Maps. Google Maps. See, I can't type. I really can't type to save my life. It's absolutely horrible, horrible state of affairs. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in those GPS coordinates to see exactly where I was when I took this picture. And I'm just going to go search. And all of a sudden, we see that the GPS coordinates were basically taken here near the Sheraton Orlando North in Florida. So you can now say that on this particular day, at this particular time, I took this photo in this location. Now, for anybody who's been to Orlando North, there's no dolphins swimming there. I had actually been at Discovery Cove, and I got cool pictures that were taken by the photographers there, and I wanted to send the pictures through to my family back in South Africa to show them how cool it was swimming with dolphins. So I actually took the photos of a photo. But now it's going to be up to you. There's 2 other photos in that direction. That's kind of going to be your homework, and that's going to be for you to go and figure out where I was in those other 2 photos. And then I want you to take EXIF tool, and I want you to throw some of your own photos that you've taken into it and see exactly what data is in those photos as well. And it might be actually quite interesting just to see how many or how much information actually sits inside these photos that that you have taken, and it's really quite exciting. And we use this in forensics, as I've said, pretty much all the time. So I'm just going to switch back to my last bit on the slides. And where did I put the slides? Oh, there they are. Cool. And so again, you could basically go through it. I've got the steps in the slides. So you can literally walk through the slides themselves and be able to practice this activity with the other photos. So these are the ones that you're going to then do after hours. So I just wanted, from my side, I want to say thanks for being awesome. When I look at the number of kids that are on the summer camp, and not just from the US, but literally from all over the world. I mean, we've got people here from from South Africa, we've got people from the UK, we've got people in the US, we've got Australia, we've got Europe, we've got the Middle East. It's absolutely awesome. And I just want to say, you guys, India, my son says he's picked up kids from India as well. So you guys have been absolutely awesome. If you have any questions, I'm just going to go look through the questions. I don't see.
I can help you with this, Jason. That's fine.
Okay, shoot.
So, how often do people hide information inside metadata? Have you ever seen that before?
So I've seen it on one or two occasions where we did some I could put them like anti-terrorism investigations. So we did South Africa hosted the World Cup in 2010, and with some of the investigations that we did there, where people were taking photographs of venues and things along those lines. As they were sharing stuff, they were using like photo editing software and then like editing tools, and they were actually embedding stuff like in the metadata as well. That I've only seen that like on that one particular investigation, and it was kind of weird. We had good intelligence, so it could have been a lot worse. So in terms of faking EXIF metadata, John, I mean, I actually did it for an exercise that I did quite some time ago. I was in the Seychelles, and what I did is I took the metadata that was in the pictures, and I just, I did a copy and paste. So the EXIF tool that I've shared with you guys, it's on the virtual machine. Not only does it allow you to read metadata, it also helps you can use it to edit metadata. And what I did is I just switched around the longitude and latitude coordinates in the EXIF data, which all of a sudden was, instead of putting me, like squarely on an island, it ended up putting me somewhere in the middle of the Pacific Ocean somewhere, like completely on the opposite side of the planet from where I actually was. So it is definitely possible to edit. And there's something we talk about in forensics quite a lot, like trust but verify. Just because the data says you were there, you shouldn't just trust it. You should look at other evidence that kind of supports it, or corroborates the evidence. And you'd be surprised how many bad guys do stupid things like taking photographs of themselves. I don't know why. I love stupid bad guys. It makes my life so much easier. So Sophie, the metadata definitely can be changed. We see it a lot with people doing anti-forensics to basically try cover their tracks and hide their stuff from us. But again, that's part of the challenge. Now Lee also, we've all been doing forensics for quite some time. Even and Ladrina that spoke earlier, I mean, she's probably one of the world's leading experts in the cases she's dealt with in these things. It's very difficult. You might be able to change some metadata, but because it's so difficult to change all of the metadata and all other data on the computer or the phone that talks to that thing, it's often very easy to show that somebody has forged or changed something. So I might not be able to say what it was originally, but at least I'd be able to confidently say that thing was most likely to have changed, because there's all of these other little anomalies that we see on the system, which makes it interesting thing. The Samuel, you asked about, can you detect if a photo has been photoshopped? So it's a bit outside of this scope, because that goes beyond metadata, but there's a whole field of digital forensics that focuses just on photo manipulation. If you look at like this whole concept of deep fakes and and all that we're seeing at the moment. So it is possible to do, because when you start to manipulate photos, there are certain telltale pieces of evidence that you actually see in the photo fields itself. But that's a whole different topic for discussion. But yes, it's definitely possible. I know some of you asked about the slides. So my understanding is the slides will be up at some point. There's so many questions. They're like coming in like hard and fast. So I'm trying to get through them all. If I miss any questions, like Lee said, he will put all of these together. Then we'll get stuck into them as a group. You guys, you're asking like such awesome questions. I absolutely can't keep up with them. Like this is awesome.
Okay, so Jason, just quickly, sorry, there's been a couple of requests for that because people are having some difficulty with the VM apparently. So what we're going to do is that we'll get the pictures that Jason was using here. We'll get them posted up and post a link to that, and then I think what we'll do is that we'll point people towards where they can download Exif Tool and all that kind of stuff to run it all themselves.
Perfect, yeah.
But I mean, there was a bunch of questions which came in as is it possible to change the metadata? I mean, yeah, I mean Exif Tool will do that for you.
Yeah.
There's options in there. In fact, Exif Tool does a lot of stuff, and if you just look at the help file, which comes along with that, or just do like the man page or whatever, then you will see there is a lot to it. I was amazed. Like, I've only ever used it just to look at like a fraction of the metadata, and when I started to explore this a lot more, it was like I'm amazed at how much this stuff actually does. Yeah,
exactly. It's like a Swiss Army knife for metadata.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today, Jason.
Cool.